say you should go ahead with the intro, and I'll follow up.
Check, check, check. If you're hearing the sound of my voice or watching this on YouTube, that means you're now tuned into another chapter of the Introverted Intuition podcast. My name is Jeff, a.k.a. the Petty Podcaster, a.k.a. the Ambitious Introvert, a.k.a. the Leader of the Libras. As always, I got my boy with me, CR. Say what's up to the people.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your man, CR908, representing Jump Out the Frame. JLTF, what's good?
How you holding up, bro?
Bruh, it's been... First off, I woke up this fucking morning, all right, and I went to my fucking car, and like a dumbass, I forgot to lock my car last night because I took my laundry out, and my hands were full. So I walked to my fucking car, and my middle console's open, and my fucking business cards are all over the place. Obviously, somebody went in there. You know what they stole? They stole my fucking lighter. They stole my car charger and some sunglasses.
Damn.
Some broke motherfuckers, bro. I can't wait to move.
That's crazy.
That's how I started.
What if they listening? Like, I be thinking shit like that. Like, people you have beef with or people who, like, steal from you, they end up, like, listening to something that you doing. Like, they're actually really a fan of what you do, but they don't even know you. Like, I be thinking about shit like that. But we got a guest with us. You want to introduce him? He introduce himself? How you want to do it?
Yeah, definitely. First, let me start off by telling people how I met this guy. Everybody who listens to the show knows what I do as a day job. I'm a fucking Lyft driver, and I love my job because I meet dope motherfucking people all the time. Like this is a regular occurrence. You feel me? So this guy, I met him while working, had me rolling the whole fucking time. He's talking about his perspective on the coronavirus. And he's a raw motherfucker. Probably one of the coolest white guys I know right now. John, please introduce yourself.
I don't have as fancy as names you got. My name's John, a.k.a. Uncle John. That's what I call myself on my YouTube channel, Uncle John. Yeah, it was strange. We met on. I like to talk. I'm a big talker, and you gotta excuse my accent, right? I grew up in Brooklyn, so I got that old school Brooklyn accent. So just bear with me. So I like to talk, and I like to get to know people, and I just can't be in a position where I'm sitting there with somebody 2.5 feet away from me, and I'm in a half-hour car ride with them, and I can't talk, you know? Yeah. And within the first 10 seconds, I knew that CR was like my kind of guy because we started talking and we hit it off right away. So, matter of fact, it was like the first 3 seconds because I said, "Do I have to wear my mask?" And he goes, "No." And I was like, "Thank God." And so that's really it. So we had started talking that he's on this podcast all the time, and I had just started my YouTube channel last week, and I got 2 videos, and I'm actually working on a 3rd one. And I DM'd him, we exchanged Instagrams. I said, it'd be pretty cool if I come on yours, and then when you're ready, you come on mine. And then that's really it. Here we are.
That's dope. That's like, I never thought of Lyft and Uber as like networking opportunities. It's like a networking event, like a traveling networking event all day for as long as you want to work.
All day.
Yeah. Hold on one second. Let me close this door.
Yeah, no problem.
But yeah, that's like how I thought of it when I first started doing it. I'm like, yo, I'm going to take an opportunity and meet a lot of different people from this.
My wife is downstairs with one of her girlfriends, and since there's no fucking work tomorrow, they're drinking wine and hanging out. So they get, the more wine they drink, the louder they get. So I just closed the door.
It's about to be one of those nights.
Yeah, it's just 2 of them. And they talk about nothing. Like, sometimes I'll go downstairs, I'll hang out with them for 5 minutes, and they talk about nothing, like nothing of substance whatsoever.
Well, like reality TV and cookbooks?
They'll talk about, what nail color they have on, what hair color they have on. They'll talk about shit that I know my wife disagrees with. Like what happened? We lost. There we go.
Yeah.
Like, I know my wife's political agenda. I know her belief system. And she, for the sake of just hanging out with her girlfriends, just goes along with it. Just, yeah, no problem. And then God forbid I bring up something, she, like, attack right away. And I'm like, how come you don't do that? But me, right away. And it could be the stupidest shit. We could be talking about like a TV show we're watching, you know?
Yeah.
We were watching this movie, and it was about a female vampire. This kid, female vampire. And the way she survived was to manipulate another man to get her to bring victims to her, because she was only like 12 years old. She only looked 12 years old, but she was like 500 years old. So I said, that's exactly what a woman would do, would be manipulating motherfucker to help her survive. And then before you know it, I'm in the doghouse because I spoke the truth, and then she's shitting all over me. But I guarantee you, if her girlfriend said that shit right now, my wife would be like, "Yup, that's how we do it. Yup." So that's actually my YouTube channel. I talk about relationships, human nature, differences in gender, so on and so forth. Because I have a bachelor's degree in psychology and I have a master's degree in business. So I decided that plus, I'm a lot older than you guys. I'm 44 years old. That plus like life experience, and plus I'm pretty honest, like painfully. I think I should start it and give it a shot and see how we do. And that we're here.
So it's a podcast, but like YouTube form only. Or are you gonna do iTunes and all that stuff eventually?
Yeah. The truth of the matter is, I could actually bullshit you and say I'm only doing YouTube because I'm good looking. But the truth is, I can't figure out how to get it up and running on a podcast. I'm banging my laptop. I'm like, why won't this go up? It's just because I'm old and I don't know. I'm not tech savvy. So that's really all it is.
There's a YouTube video for everything. So
that's what I've been trying to do. I don't know. I'll figure it out sooner or later. I've only got 2 videos, but as of right now, the YouTube channel's, so far so good. So anyway, all right. I gotta stop talking and let you guys talk.
Hold up, you're an honest person though. Did you give CR a 5-star?
Of course I did.
Okay. No, but be honest though. How was this driving? Like, did you feel scared at any point?
Feel scared at any point? Why would I feel scared? Because he's black?
I don't know. Like, I've been in the car with CR a few times. I kind of was scared for my life a few times.
I can drive. John, I can drive, right?
I'm more scared with a Jewish driver. I think they're gonna fuck me out of money.
Yo, it feels good to just laugh and have like honest conversation like this, because like it's just been a heavy 2020 in general, man. Like,
yeah, it started off with Australia on fire, right?
Yeah.
And then right into Corona, and then into there was a small segment of killer hornets, if you remember that shit, right? Yeah. And then right into George Floyd and the protesting and the riots and so on and so forth. So it's been a shit show 2020.
For me, all this bullshit kind of started when Kobe died. It seemed like there was just like an endless cycle.
About Kobe,
I was about to say, right before
sorry about that. Yeah, with all this other crap, Kobe gets brushed on the rug, and I was a big Kobe fan too.
Yeah, man.
Sneakers that are like tucked away now, I won't wear them anymore.
It's been exhausting as fuck, man. Like I've been going. I had to actually like delete social media off my phone for like a good like week and a half, because I just find myself getting to rabbit hole after every like a new situation popping up. 5 black men lynched this entire week. Like it's just insanity, man. But I think it's good that you started this YouTube channel at this time, because people do need that silliness as well as the seriousness.
Right. Yeah, when I was talking to my wife about it, and I was talking to my niece, that's another thing I gotta say. I mean, I gotta say it on the next one. My nieces are in their 20s, right? So their girlfriends gave me questions to answer on the second episode, and then people are saying, "Your niece, what are you answering questions from a 10-year-old girl?" I'm like, no, my nieces are in their fucking 20s. Well, you psychopath. So I gotta square that out. But the whole idea of YouTube was like, I am not gonna talk about coronavirus. I am not gonna talk about the riots and so on and police brutality because I feel like people are getting a fill of it and they just need to laugh. But if somebody asks me about it, then of course I'll talk about it.
Right.
That's it.
Do you and your wife like talk about it in private, like about what's going on?
Yeah. Me and my wife are more me and my wife are more liberal-minded than most. We're more open-minded than most. You gotta understand my background, and then you'll understand. I grew up in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, in the '80s into the '90s, and then we moved to Staten Island. Okay, Bensonhurst in the '90s it started really changing. In the '80s, '70s, '80s, and before that, it was all Italian, and God forbid anyone of color walked through the neighborhood like you took your life in your hands.
Yeah.
Literally. Okay. But my parents weren't inherently racist. Like they weren't racist for a couple of reasons. Because my mother is 85 years old. They grew up before the civil rights movement. Right. They grew up in the 1950s. They were married in 61. It's the next generation, from my experience, the next generation that grew up in the 60s and 70s that became the more when Black Americans came up from the South and moved into the projects. Because when my parents grew up, they grew up in Red Hook, Brooklyn, and the projects was still all Italian and Irish and white, or mostly Italian, right? By the time my parents got married and started having kids, that's when the change started happening, you know? And if anybody knows anything about marriage, once you get married to having kids, you're in like this tunnel of I have to provide for my kids and everything else is secondary. So I didn't really grow up with parents that taught me racism. I lived in a neighborhood where a lot of it, not everybody, but there was an element of racism that was extreme. And then once the neighborhood started changing, we moved because my father started making a lot of money when I was a kid. We moved to the suburbs in Staten Island. But I lived in a neighborhood. I don't know if you guys are too young or if you know I'm sure you guys know your history. I was living there when Al Sharpton was protesting against Yusef Hawkins in Bensonhurst when that guy stabbed him in the chest. Mm. So but for whatever reason, whatever it is, my education or just being self-aware, just internalizing my own values, I just knew it was wrong. You know, I just knew it was wrong. And my wife grew up in a neighborhood that was a little bit more mixed in North Jersey, in Bloomfield, New Jersey.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit. She went to Bloomfield High, so it was a little bit more mixed, so on and so forth. Where I grew up more in a bubble, right? More like if you were an Italian, it was like, oh, you know, those people were different, whatever it was, you know. And so that's my background. So in that background, I'm the odd one out. So I'm a little bit more liberal-minded or open-minded, if you will, than most of that come from that background.
So with that being said, right, because we gotta ask you the uncomfortable ass questions.
Go right ahead.
You know what I'm saying? I love it. So do you feel like white privilege exists? Because there's some white people who think white privilege doesn't exist. What do you think?
White privilege exists to a certain extent.
Explain.
Well, white privilege exists where I don't have to go into a store or go into an Uber or a Lyft and have somebody look at me like, am I going to do something wrong? Which is what you guys are subjected to, right?
Yeah. Facts.
So for example, a white person will invite their black friend from work over their house for a barbecue, right?
Yeah.
And they'll have their whole white family there and white friends, and they'll be like, oh, they get along really good with their black friend. They invite them over. But they wouldn't subject themselves to the same thing.
They wouldn't go over there.
They're not going to go to the old, because they're going to feel a certain way. They're not going to feel comfortable. And that there's a certain privilege to that. And there is white privilege to a certain extent. Yeah, there is. I mean, you know, I think with generations it's getting less and less, because I think in my lifetime I've seen the black community get better and better as far as politics, business, music, tradesmen, education, you know, and so the next generation is becoming somewhat privileged, like, you know, like a you know, a Kobe's kids, or a, you know, you know, you know, anybody famous or a celebrity, those kids have kind of like, but yeah, of course there's white privilege, but to a certain extent there's white privilege, of course, you know. You'd be ignorant to say that there's nothing, but like I said, that's what it comes down to. Like I could, I don't have to. When I get pulled over by a police officer, right? I don't. My biggest fear is I'm going to get a fucking ticket, and my points are going to go up on my license, right?
Right.
I don't fear for my life. That's privilege. That's a privilege. Next question.
But like I agree with you, and I feel like there's two sides to that. I feel like it's not next generation. I feel like it's still current generation, people maybe around your age, who are utilizing their privilege the wrong way. Like there's videos and videos out there of even in I think it was a Central Park, like the white lady Amy something that they made the law after. Yeah. Like she literally called the guy, the cops on the guy, and she was like, she was aware that when she made the call that nothing would happen to her. It would be strictly to the guy, right?
People go back to their roots. So what I mean by that is, people go, when a person is angry, they go back to what hurts the most, right? So I'm pissed off, and this black guy is bothering me, right? And emotionally, on another situation, she would have controlled that thought process, even though it still exists inside her. She would have controlled it. She would have said, I'm not going to say that, right? And she would say, I would never say anything like that. But once the emotion kicks in, right, and then she loses control, then it comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier in the conversation that you are, out of everyone you were around growing up, at least, that you were the most open-minded, the most liberal. Is that still a fact today? Like, do you have people around you whose beliefs and ideals are way more left or right than yours, but you still accept them as a friend?
I don't stop being friends with somebody because of their political agenda. I'm friends with somebody because of their character as a friend to me. So if you're a Trump supporter and your ideology agrees with that Trump supporter, but you're a good friend to me, and I know you would lay down in traffic for me, I don't not be friends with you because of that. And the complete opposite. If you are, you know, a liberal, an extreme liberal, or you are a minority group and you have a different ideology, but you're a good friend to me and you're good to my wife, and we have other things in common, and you're good to me, and I know that you're going to lay down in traffic for me as I would for you, that means more to me than your political ideology.
I think in a weird way, that's kind of privileged in a way, because if someone, for example, is someone I'm connected to is supporting Trump, nothing about Trump's rhetoric and what he believes in is good for me and the people who look like me. So I feel like, I'm not saying that's wrong. Like, yeah, you can have relationships with people, but I think you should get to a certain point when people who are believing in and supporting people who spew nothing but hate and divisiveness, like, I think this shouldn't really matter. Maybe I'm too, I don't know. I don't know how to separate the line between like personal and like beliefs and business stuff like that. It's all personal to me.
Well, it's difficult. And it's difficult because when it comes to politics, now you're talking about a belief system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And once you attack, quote unquote, somebody's belief system, then you become emotionally insulted, and then you say, I want to be with this person. Me and CR had this conversation driving, and she probably remembers, but I'm a sewer worker in New York City. I know, I have 2 degrees and I'm a fucking sewer worker. I know, that's a whole other story. I'm ankles deep in shit, in human feces, with somebody next to me who is African American and has a particular ideology, and I have another person next to me who is white and has an opposite ideology, and we're both shoveling shit for a living. We have more in common than any of that political ideology matters whatsoever.
Right.
Whether they can see it or not, we have more in common. We're all working hard. We're all in a disgusting job. We're all trying to provide for our families. We're all paying taxes. We're all trying to bring our kids up right. And I don't believe that because of who I vote for, that's going to wedge me between either one of those people. Now, it has gotten me in trouble before. You know what I mean by that is, I had a barbecue a few years back, and I invited everybody. One of my friends says, if so-and-so's coming, I'm not coming. And I was really hurt because that person meant a lot to me. That person was at my wedding. That person was at my bachelor party. That person went to my bodybuilding shows because I stopped bodybuilding in 2014. I've been to his house. I've been with his kids. And that hurt. That meant a lot to me. And I felt terrible that he wouldn't come because I invited somebody else. I didn't know what to do. Like, I was in the middle. I was stuck. So I was just like, I actually caved. And I said to him, look, dude, if that's the case, I want to invite him. You know? And I probably shouldn't have done that. I should have said, look, everybody's invited.
Right.
Did he freeze? Okay.
What?
Yeah, it froze for a second. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. And that's basically what happened. But luckily, that person, we kind of reconciled everything, and he wound up coming, and then he pulled me aside, and he said to me, John, don't ever think we're not friends. We'll always be friends. And that meant a lot to me because him and I had the same kind of thought pattern. If we're friends, then I'm going out of my way for you. And I know he would go out of his way for me. And that means a lot to me. So I was ready to sever relationships with somebody because I didn't want to lose his friendship, even though I know it's my decision that I don't let those thought patterns, ideologies get in the way of my relationship. But other people do, and then inadvertently it got me in that position. But ever since then, I've never had. That was the only one time I ever had a problem with the way I conduct myself with friends and so on and so forth.
I respect that. And so you mentioned 2 things in the midst of that: bodybuilding, psychology degree, 3 things, and working in the sewer. Which came first?
Bodybuilding. I've been in bodybuilding since I remember. You guys don't remember, but bodybuilding. This is one thing I'm proud of, and this is the one thing that I was really upset with the rioters in Columbus, Ohio. I don't know if you saw this. Bodybuilding is the only sport, if you want to call it a sport, that never had any racism whatsoever. The second Mr. Olympia in the mid-'60s was Cuban. He was as dark as you guys. His name was Sergio Oliva, one of the greatest bodybuilders that ever lived. And this was the mid-'60s. He was the second Mr. Olympia. Won 3 years in a row, and then Arnold came along and beat him. It was always the best man won. That was it. And if you look at the top 5 of the Olympia every year, they're usually black. And it's been that way with the exception of 1 or 2 guys like Dorian Yates or Jay Cutler, but it's been that way for the last 40 years or so. But that came first. Anyway, they destroyed a statue of Arnold Schwarzenegger in Columbus, Ohio. I don't know if you saw this. They painted his hands red. Did you see that?
Yeah.
And they wrote, there's blood on your hands. I don't know what Arnold has anything to do with it, but
Yeah.
that's a whole other story. But that came first. I've been in love with bodybuilding forever, but I just didn't have the genetics to go all the way. That's just the God's honest truth. No matter how much I ate, no matter what I took, no matter how much I trained, I just didn't have the size that these pro guys have. I don't. That just didn't happen. So then my father, getting on to my education, my father always pushed education on me because he was a blue collar guy. He was an electrician. My brothers are a lot older than me. My oldest brother is 14 years older than me. They became electricians. I was the accident child, right? I was the oops baby. My grandfather was an electrician. My other grandfather was a longshoreman. So my father pushed education on me. Well, you got to go to school. You got to go to school. You got to go to school. So I believed it. I went to school. And did I do good? I was a B student, but I had to study really hard to get that B, right? And I got a degree in psychology, and then I got a degree in business. And then I went into the finance world, and I fucking hated it. I hated it with a passion. And then finally, after a couple of years of doing that, it was in my 20s. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I am unhappy. I can't see myself doing this for the rest of my life. And then I picked up the pair of pliers, and I remember the first day I went to work with my brothers, I was like, this is the first day, and I already know this is what I'm supposed to do. Mm-hmm. So it was just like, I don't know if it's just instinctual, if it's in my blood. I don't know what it is, but blue collar jobs and building stuff and whatnot always just came a lot easier for me, And then what happened was, and then the sewer, right? Okay, so what happened was I was working as an electrician back in 2011 when the economy was real shit. And I kept getting laid off, and I started taking New York City tests. And they called me for the sewer, the DEP called me for the sewage treatment worker. Right. And you had to have so many years of a trade, you had to have a CDL, and I had all these things. I took the job because it was a New York City job. Is once you become permanent, it's really difficult to get fired. You got benefits for the rest of your life. You and your family. You have a retirement. You got a pension. You got a 401k, and you got good pay. You got really good pay. We probably get paid the best out of all the city workers, and that's because with sewer workers, there's only 800 of us, right? And
for the whole city.
In the whole city, how why would you need so many guys to take care of the sewer? I mean,
that's right.
And that's really it.
Damn.
It's not like you need 5,000 cops or 5,000 firemen,
Yeah.
And then plus you have to have a trade behind you. You need 3 years of a trade, and you need 3 years W-2 to show that, and you need a CDL. So when I first got hired, my base was 72,000 a year, 76,000 a year, and that was 11 years ago. Right?
Wow.
So yeah. Wow. So and it was a no-brainer. Once they called me, I was like, "That's it, I'm done." And so that's how that worked out.
You need an apprentice or something? I'm looking.
Yeah. You need a trade, and you need to live in somewhere in New York City, and then they allow certain parts of Long Island, certain parts of state, so on and so forth.
But like going back to body,
go ahead. If I don't know everything I know now, I would have went to trade school instead of college. I enjoyed college, and I took advantage of everything I learned, but I would have went to trade school.
Yeah, so go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
One of the things the left has really kind of ruined this country is the fact that everybody needs to go to college. Mm-hmm. It's not true. Some people are better with their hands. And I didn't know I was until I actually started working with my hands, right? I mean, look, if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher or a social worker or a veterinarian, whatever it is, yeah, you got to go to college. But if you're in high school and you barely graduate and your parents are still pushing you to go to college, obviously school isn't your forte, right? I mean, if you're barely paying someone a 70, you probably should think of something else besides college. Obviously, studying is not for you, right? And that's where a trade comes in. Trades are in New York City. Local 3 electricians, their base salary, not supervisors, just local 3 electricians, is $54 an hour, plus benefits, plus a pension, plus a 401k, plus overtime, plus holidays. so on and so forth. You're making $100,000 without even turning your head, and you have benefits and a retirement for the rest of your life, and you can become licensed and open up your own business.
Exactly.
You know,
and that's why like for me, like the part where you said like if you weren't getting good grades and everything like that, you would more look into it. I was thinking the other side of the spectrum, like because I got good grades and all that, I should go to college, right? But I'm thinking if I would have went to trade school with the intelligence that I had used while I was in college, I would have mastered any trade that I would have chose to, and I would have been making that bread. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's why I'm saying like I could have applied that same pressure to
Right.
a trade rather than a degree, and I would have been flourishing with that.
Yeah. Well,
that's what I mean.
Let's face it. When you're 18 years old, you don't know what you want.
Hell fucking no.
You have no idea, and that's when good parenting comes in. That's when you need guidance, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me. My father was so, you need to go to school, right? He was so set that that's what I was driven to, right? I got to listen to my father, right? He knows best. I went to school. I don't have kids, but I would look at it like this. If I have a kid and he's in high school and he's graduating with honors, right? He's got 95s across the board, then I'll do whatever it takes to get him into the best college he possibly can. But if I got a kid and he is graduating with 70s, then I'm going to say, maybe you should try a trade school.
Yeah.
And if I got a kid who's graduating in the 80s, I would say, why don't you go to a community school, take a few classes, and see what you like before you may make any heavy decisions, before we make any serious decisions. That would be if I had children, that would be my plan if it came to those crossroads. But college is just, I'll give you an example. This is a pretty good example. I have two nephews, and they're both really good kids, all right? And obviously, one's 28, the other guy's about 27. 27-year-old barely graduated high school. He couldn't go to the prom, and he couldn't go to graduation because he got into a fight with a kid in high school and hit him in the head with a chair and sent the kid to the hospital, right? So he was a little bit of a rough kid, and he graduated with the 70s, but his mother, my sister-in-law, who was the greatest person in the world, was like, you're going to college no matter what, right? So the kid goes to college. He does so in college. He gets out of college, and he goes to work for his uncle because his uncle has a food and beverage distributor. And he could have did that right out of high school, and you didn't have to pay $150,000 to send him to college.
Yeah.
Right. So, it turns out that he's a good kid. He was just a little rough, a little wild when he was young, but and he had good family behind him to push him in the right direction. But he didn't have to go to college. He could have went right to work for his uncle.
Yeah. For me, like I wasn't forced into college. Like I worked for 2 years after high school, but the way college is advertised, it's like there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is a job lined up for you at the end of it, right? And that's where I feel like I had no other options. I was just working and saving money, not really with no real plan. So I kind of stumbled into college,
right?
And it worked out somehow.
Yeah, it's difficult when you're 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I mean, you really don't know what you want. Only the very gifted know what they want. Like, LeBron James knew he was going to be a pro basketball player since junior high school, right? But
yeah,
none of us are in that position. And that's when if you come from good family, those are the people that's supposed to guide you in those years. Those are crucial years, And some people have it like that, where they have a father or a mother or both, where it's just, and some people don't. And and it's just and you almost could see how they slip off, if they don't have that guidance.
I agree 100% because, like, for me growing up, I was always getting good grades and I was always getting honor roll, but my parents, they didn't give me any direction on where I should go with my education. Like, I had no type of guidance on even how to apply for college, how to get financial aid. It was because my parents are immigrants, so they came from Haiti. But my mom did go to a community college in New York, and she got her associates. But my dad never went to college. So he was always working. He was one of those people who always worked with his hands as well. So it was like, I can understand now being an adult why they didn't really have a perspective on, what kind of advice to give me. Because if I felt like if I would have gotten more advice earlier, I would have been on track sooner. Like, I'm on track now, but I'm 27 turning 28. And that was after a lot of self-reflection, a lot of trial and error, a lot of doing things on my own because I'm an only child, just like Jeff. Jeff's an only child. So I had to try a lot of stuff out on my own to figure out it wasn't for me. So a lot of time was used up during that.
Yeah, think about how difficult it was, and you had both parents, and you had good, hardworking parents. Think about how difficult it is for somebody who was growing up with a single mother who has to work 2 jobs.
That shit puts everything in perspective, yo. Because I didn't realize that other people's realities were that much harder until I started getting older and started realizing the different households people come from. Then I started understanding why some people drop out of school,
right.
Why some people, you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, even for somebody in New York City, and you got to take 3 trains to get to school every day. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, that it's like everybody's reality is different. That's hard.
It is, and it's very difficult for people to understand and be sympathetic to somebody else's reality. And that's when self-awareness and being open-minded and listening and processing what you hear helps. Because to me that's the most difficult part, and that's the most difficult part for when some white people don't understand why black people are so frustrated. Well, it's because it's not your reality. You never went through what they went through, so you can't understand it. I can't understand it. I try to pay attention, right? I'm not going to sit here and say I understand it. I don't. Things never happen to me that happen to you. But I try to pay attention, and I try to understand, and I try to listen. And when I do listen to somebody who really knows what they're talking about, somebody educated, and then I go, that really makes sense. I don't want to say I understand, but I could kind of sympathize with the frustration, right?
Right.
But I think a lot of white people, you see, the white people that are rioting now or protesting now, they're very young, right? They're very, very young. This is a shock to them, right? When they saw this on social media, this was shocking. My God, how could this happen? This is going to be sad to say, but when I was 44 years old, and when I saw that video, my first thought was that cop deserves to be in jail. My second thought was, here we go again.
Right.
Because I've lived through, like I said, Yusef Hawkins. I've lived through Rodney King. I lived through Baltimore. This is throughout my entire life. I grew up in a neighborhood where a black person had a fear for their life if they walked through that neighborhood. And I'm dead serious. Fear for their life. Yusef Hawkins was killed in the neighborhood I grew up in.
Right.
He was shot because I think he was shopping for a used car, I think. And it was in Bensonhurst. And thank God New York City is not like this anymore. It's not diverse like it was years ago. It's very, very mixed now, and it's very, very safe to be in now. It's completely different from what it was years ago. But there was a group of Italian kids from the neighborhood that just saw the guy and shot for a car, and they didn't want him there. And I don't know how many of them, 10 or 12, and one guy, he's still in jail now, shot and killed him. Right? And I lived through that. So it's a matter of me being callous, which unfortunately is true, but at the same time, it doesn't shock me, and I'm glad that it shocks the young people, because maybe they're the ones that could actually do something.
Right. And we need young people as well as people like who are older to be more aware and to want to make a difference, right? But I think the real issue where it starts is like, I feel like we had this conversation on this podcast before. It's like we need to go to the source of the problem, like the source of the racism. The white people, white people started this. They should be the ones to finish it, right? But you can't go up to someone who's 78, war veteran, and like try to speak to them and tell them what's going on is wrong. Like in their mind, this is just their reality, but it's just a new year, right? So it's like we could sit down and have conversations about this all day, but is what's going on right now like the only solution? Like the rioting, not the looting. I don't really agree with the looting, but the rioting, the protesting, like was this bound to happen? I feel like is this what's supposed to happen in order to make a real change?
Well, it's gonna have to. This is the first time in my life that I actually saw any, at least serious talks about change.
Right.
And I think it's because of social media.
Yes.
I think it's definitely because of social media. It's also because of September 11th. So what I mean by that is after September 11th, there's a hell of a lot more surveillance on the street than there was before September 11th.
Right.
So you're being videoed constantly. Think about how bad it was before that. Think about how bad police brutality before cell phones, before social media, before surveillance. Think about how bad it was back then when you knew you could get away with it. You know, you knew, we found the gun. Yeah. Now, let me. Here's the other part of the story, which is a little less difficult for me to talk about. Being a cop is not easy. All right, but here's the thing. New York City is not nearly as bad as it was. Right now, you know, if you're in like Chicago or St. Louis or Baltimore, it's a little worse than New York. New York City is really nice right now. It's not nearly what it was. But anyway, you take white kids from like upstate New York, Long Island, that all they know is being white, and they live this, you know, kind of like middle class suburban, you know, maybe lower middle class kind of lifestyle, and you know, and they really don't white school or whatever. Maybe there might be a few black. And then that kid goes, "What am I going to do for a living?" Well, you know what? I'm going to take some city tests. I'm going to take the fireman test. I'm going to take the New York City test. I'm going to take the cops test. I'm going to take my test, the one I took, right, to become a sewer worker. I'm going to take all these tests. New York City calls you, the cops call you. They're the first ones to call you because they need the most. They need the most people. So they call. Boom. Okay. Oh, yeah, great. I'll be a cop. I'll be out 20, 25 years. I'll get a gun. You know, it'll be cool. They don't know what they're getting into because now they're taken from their neighborhood and they're put in the worst parts of the Bronx. I'm just using New York City as an example. They're put into the worst part of the Bronx. They're put into the worst part of Harlem. They're put into the worst parts of Brooklyn, and they go, here, figure it out. Now, do they get training? They get training, but they don't get sufficient amount of training. 6 months in, like, you know, the police academy is not going to get you ready for that.
I think it's actually 4 months. I think I read.
What happened?
I think it's actually they get 4 months of like training and evaluation and stuff like that, and then they can just be out on the street or wherever. Like,
yeah. So now, you know, 90. Now you're talking about people who've never seen anybody shot, never seen anybody named, maybe never even seen a fist fight or been in a fist fight in their life. Right? They never showed up at a car accident where somebody's a dead body, and they go to these neighborhoods where it's primarily Black or Spanish. So not only can it be a real serious suffering of PTSD, but now it's creating a bias. Now it's going, well, this is the only exposure I have to Black people or Hispanic people. Look how they act, right? It is the same scenario as if you talk to a doctor 2 months ago about how big coronavirus is. And they go, it is horrible. People are dying because that's all they see. They're in the eye of the storm. But if you just look on the outside a little bit, it's not that bad, right? I have plenty of Black friends, and we're all on the same page. We're trying to work hard, have a nice life, raise kids, so on and so forth. But those cops don't see that. And I'm not justifying it, but that's the reality, okay? Then the other problem is the hiring process, right? Because they need so many people, okay? All right. Statistically speaking, right? Anybody below an IQ of 83, okay? 3 can't really function day to day. They can't really hold down a job, but any kind of real, it's anything real substantial, right? So you go, well, how many people I like that. 10%. 10% is a lot of people. And those people slip through the cracks. I work with some of them, right? Okay, I work with some of them, but we go, hey, so-and-so, you know what, just go sweep up over there. We'll talk to you later. So now these people slip through the cracks in the police department, mostly because they need bodies, they need people, right? But life and death is on the line as well, right? And then you give them a badge and a gun and the abuse of power and authority, and they can't handle it. There are cops out there that are better than that. There are cops out there that know how to treat people, that are respectful and know they'll get respect back, and so on and so forth. And we've seen it, right? That video with Shaquille O'Neal, where that guy goes to the police call and they're playing basketball, and the guy goes, just keep it down. But he's playing basketball with the kids, and that's how it should be. But that's not how it is all the time. But that small percentage of people can create a problem, because the hiring process for the police department needs to be a lot more stringent. And this is just my opinion, right? And I think the psychological evaluation needs to be stringent. They'll give you a psychological evaluation at the beginning of your career when you're not exposed to all these things. But what about 5-10 years down the line when you are exposed to these things? And now you have to you're acting different, right? Now you possibly have severe PTSD, right? How many times you're stressed out on the job and you go home and you're just fucking pissed off, right?
Yeah.
You take it out on your wife or your brother or whatever, you kick the dog, whatever, right? That can't be allowed to happen in the police department, because you're dealing with life and death. So my suggestion is have a psychological evaluation twice a year. See if that person is still stable to take this job on. And if they're not, there's plenty of other departments they could work in, or offer them help, psychological help, so on and so forth. And you gotta be able to weed out these bad apples somehow, because these bad apples kind of, then the media just focuses on them and it just blows up. But
I like the perspective that you're giving, because we need to hear the other side of that. You know what I'm saying? Because I do agree with some of the things that you're saying. Like, for one, I was having this conversation with another one of my friends. We were talking about how a lot of officers, they are people who've never been exposed to that type of environment. So a lot of the times they are reacting because they're scared. You can't teach experience. You can't. You have to just experience things. You have to go through certain things. So, like, if they've never experienced, being around a bunch of Crips from Newark, you know what I'm saying? You don't know how to approach them to make them respect you, or so that way you know what I'm saying? Like, then you're gonna feel threatened, you're gonna feel scared, and you're gonna feel nervous, and that's when they fuck up and they do something like shoot somebody because they thought that their cell phone was a gun. That's because in their mind it really was a gun.
Right. And I feel even maybe it should go department by department first, right? But like have like some of that budget that the police get to have like a resident therapist that like mandatory sessions with these people. Like, cause like we're saying, like they have PTSD, like they're watching the news like we are. They're fucking seeing people say, and I say it sometimes too, like there are no good cops out there. They're just all trying to kill. It's like everyone's on defense, right?
Right.
So I feel like, to protect yourself, you should be on defense as well, but you need to cleanse your mind to have a job like that. Like, it should be more strict. Like, even veterans who come home, like, and then they become police officers, they're so fucked up in what they experience. Like, it's just a bad cycle of not really supporting people's mental health, and that's where I feel like where it all starts and ends.
Yeah. And I agree with that, and that's why I like when John was talking about having a mandatory, two evaluations a year. I think that's really, really realistic. I feel like that could be an effective change, and it'll be a way for us to really decide who's mentally fit to be an officer. Where do you belong behind a desk, or do you belong in the field? Maybe necessarily you don't have to lose your badge altogether, but you just won't be anywhere where you can hurt anybody. You know what I'm saying? Or if we can work through the stuff that you're dealing with that makes you feel that way. Like, that evaluation can really change a lot of what's going on, I think, if it was taken seriously and applied everywhere.
Here's another suggestion that actually a friend of mine suggested. And he said, if you're from Harlem, or you're from, and I'm just using these neighborhoods as an example. If you're from an inner city, part of the Bronx, Newark, Patterson, whatever, and you get that job of being a police officer, you should work in that neighborhood.
I agree.
Because you know the families and you know the kids in that neighborhood, and they will automatically know you and respect you.
Right.
And then you should be partnered up with somebody who is not from that neighborhood.
So you can teach them.
Right.
Right.
Because I can't. You know how many times, like when I lived in Brooklyn, when I lived in Pennsylvania, you know how many times, I might have been messing around or was out late and in front of my father's or in front of my mother's. What are you doing out here? Go home. Does your father home? Are you home this late? And you respect that person because you know them, and you know that they know your parents. If a police officer says that to you, you're just like, get the fuck out of here, fuck you, right? But if that same person who is a police officer also knows your family, it's a different reaction.
It is.
Yeah.
These are just small suggestions that possibly could help. Things are a lot more complicated, but listen, you got to start somewhere, right?
But it's like fucked up. Like these cops, like they go through this training, these training sessions, and they know the proper protocol with each escalation of a situation, and they just completely disregard it. Like in all these situations that have happened recently, I feel like the cops have literally skipped from step A to step Z and then end the situation in the most drastic way possible. And
there's a reason. There's a reason for that. There's no circumstance. There's no punishment. So if I work at a job and I get to, I go to a job and every day I sleep for 2 hours before I get started. But nobody ever says anything, right? I'm just going to go back the next day and sleep for 2 hours and start my job when I feel like starting, right? Nobody says anything. And then what happens is if they do finally say something, you go, what? I do this every day. What? It's no big deal. I sleep for 2 hours every day before. Now you want to fucking break my balls about it, right? I think it was a cop in Florida, right? Who had 79, I think it was 78 or 79
prior cases.
Right. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And even the guy that killed George Floyd, he had, I don't know how many, 20, 21. He already shot and killed somebody, so on and so forth. So I was watching, maybe lost you off.
I'll be back. Hold on.
All right.
Get the light.
Oh, okay. Should I keep going or are we waiting for
Keep
it?
going.
Keep going.
I was watching Joe Rogan and I don't know if you guys don't follow about it, but the greatest bodybuilder, in my opinion, that ever lived, Ronnie Coleman, was a police officer throughout the time he was a bodybuilder. And he was on Joe Rogan last week, and he said, in my precinct, he was in a cop in Arlington, Texas, and he said, in my precinct, if we got in trouble 3 times, you got fired. That was it. 3 times, 3 strikes and you were out. 79 times, come on, that's just ridiculous.
Right.
And 78 times, 79 times. So of course they're gonna look at you. Of course he's gonna have his knee on his neck while you got the phone on him, going, "You really gonna kill this man right now?" And he's like, "Yeah, exactly. I'm really gonna kill this man right now," because in his head he knows ain't shit gonna happen to me, right?
And that's the problem.
There has to be some consequences. There has to be consequences there. And look, even if you're a cop and you do something like that, you should at the very least be fired and not be able to be a cop somewhere else.
At least.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, I'm trying to go to my notes. I have something written down. I have a question for you guys, and this may sound ridiculous, but this is just an idea that I saw online. Should police unions be illegal?
Say that again?
Should police unions be illegal?
That's a tough one. And let me tell you why it's a tough one. It's human nature to take advantage of something when you have power. So right now we see unions with all the power and they take advantage of it. Before there were unions, the working man was completely taken advantage of because the bosses were like, well, if you don't put in 12, 14, 16-hour work days, we're just going to get somebody else to replace you, right? That's a difficult question. I don't really have the answer for that. I think you need kind of union but it becomes we see it all the time, and it's unfortunate. One thing you can do, I think, is have another agency kind of look over the union to make sure they're operating right and not operating, crookedly or have any kind of an agenda. That might be a possibility, right? But like when we see it now in baseball, right? I mean, they can't agree for $10 million. You're gonna pay me the 15 I go for the year, and it just becomes a power struggle, and then you have no baseball.
Right.
Unions are necessary, but at the same time, once the power gets too great, it becomes disastrous. It really does. I mean, I'll give you an example. Okay, I come from blue collar world. I don't know if it's like this anymore. Local 3 electricians, one of the largest unions in New York City. I mean, they are one of the strongest unions in New York City. At one time, I don't know if it's true anymore. The union wouldn't allow them to carry their own ladders. They needed a laborer on the job to carry the ladder for them. And I don't know if it's as extreme anymore, but this is going back like to the 90s. Okay, so and that's what I mean by abuse of power. I mean, that's ridiculous. First of all, the ladders are aluminum, because they have to be, because they don't conduct electricity. All right. Yeah. I'm sorry, not aluminum. I'm sorry. Fiberglass. I apologize. They don't use aluminum ladders. So the ladders are fiberglass, which is very light. I mean, but it's just, so that's what I mean by abuse of power.
Right.
But if you take that power away, you definitely, that power is going to go into somebody else's hands. There's no question about it. And I'm just speaking from experience, and we see it over and over. You see it in every walk of life. So like 120 years ago, if I got mad at my wife and it was 1900 and she got lippy, if I backhanded her one, it was no big deal, right? Because they couldn't do anything about it. I had all the power. I'm the husband. I'm making the money. You're making dinner, and pow, you give me a complaint, I'm going to crack you one. So the flip, it's the truth. So that's an abuse of power. So if you flip it around, so now what you have is the power has gone completely on the opposite side of the chart, where the women kind of have the power now, but they're not violent. Okay, that's not their instinct to be violent, right? Their instinct is to be manipulative, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if you do something I don't like, I'm calling the police and telling them that you hit me. And we see that happen all the time. And guys have lost their jobs, so on and so forth. Now, I'm not saying that guys still don't do that. There's guys out there that still do that, and they deserve whatever punishment they get. But there are women that will manipulate and abuse that power. That's just human nature, and it's terrible. And the only way I think to resolve that is to have another agency to look over it and make sure they operate correctly. That's just my opinion.
I feel like at the root of this conversation, like the one thought that
I'm doing a hell of a lot better. I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm doing a hell of a lot better than I thought I would do on this fucking podcast. I thought I was going to get my ass reamed.
Wait, did you expect like tough questions or like real personal shit? Like, because I could go there, because I got questions about bodybuilding and all that shit.
Go ahead, dude. Yeah, go ahead.
But let me just finish my point. Like, I feel like just the root of this, like all this speculation of what we need to do and shit like that, I think that's like the real problem. Like, I feel like the way the system is designed, it's designed in a way where it's just, there'll be so many like solutions, but not anything concrete. And I think it's really fucked up, because it's like, especially as Black people, like we were born into the system, we were born into these traps, and there's no way, it's really hard to climb your way out, even as you ascend up the financial ladder, right? So it's just like we're just stuck in like the barrel, like, and it's just like, it's just frustrating. Like, I mean, this is a good, healthy conversation that people need to hear, but it's like at the root of it, it's like we have these conversations back and forth all day, but it's like, what can we do? Like, I'm at this point, I'm like sick of tired of like talking about anything. Like, I haven't been to a protest or a riot yet. Like, I plan to within the next week, but it's just like, I really do, like, it's just like built up aggression, and I understand these people. I don't understand and support the looting aspect of it, but I'm sick of this system. Like, I'm really sick of this country. Like, I don't feel proud to be from here. Like, the way the other people in these other countries stare at us, like, I'm kind of right with them. Like, it's just shitty. I'm sorry, I had to get that out. Like,
no, it's fine, it's understandable because that's your reality, right? Just because it's not my reality doesn't mean it's not yours, and it doesn't mean it's not wrong, right? It's completely understandable because when you see it, all right. So I only see the George Floyd death. I can only imagine other things that, like we said, haven't been caught on camera. And it's been going on for generation after generation after generation. And odds are it will happen again because it's just been going on for so long, right? I mean, I'm only 44, and I remember from as long as I can remember, there has been racial tension and deaths and beatings and so on and so forth and problems. It's understandable that you feel that way. I can't comment on how the Black community could help change itself because I'm not from that community. So I'm not going to give my opinion on how the Black community could correct itself to help. But the only thing I could say is that if you're that passionate about change, then maybe you should go into some politics. I mean, think about it. There is not one Democrat since Barack Obama that has been that has moved people. I mean, not one. I mean, you look at the Democratic debates. I mean, Joe Biden. I mean, the guy is like he almost belongs in a home. It's terrible.
He has dementia, yo.
Yeah, Hillary Clinton. I mean, this is so. Maybe it's time. Maybe the system needs somebody like yourself, or needs a group of people like yourself, to go in, enter, and say, okay, I'm going to do my best to change it from the inside out. Just a suggestion, a possibility.
I feel like there's a lot of small, because we were having this conversation when we had our last guest on here. We were talking about different things that need to change as far as like having more Black people trying to get involved with their local politics, trying to get them into different positions of power, even like at the local level, because that's how we'll have more control over our communities. A lot of the times, that's why I'm looking at the riots and the protests, and I'm like, that's cool, that's making a lot of noise, and it's getting a lot of attention, and it's doing something, but we want long-term change. If we want long-term change, it's going to have to be reconstructing the intricate parts of systemic racism and trying to attack it by going, like John said, from the inside out. It's restructuring how the system is, and it starts off by putting certain people in place. But that can only work if our allies, who are those who are already in power, can help and vouch for those who are trying to get in those positions, because this be true and be real. We need allies in order to make real change, right? Just like Jeff, you were saying, if we got to go to the source of the problem could also be the source of the solution, right? The people who are the ones with the power, they have to find a way to loosen up their grip. But how do we get that? You know what I'm saying? How do we get that?
Yeah.
It's difficult because a lot of the people that are on the congressmen and senators are very old, and they've been there for a long time.
They're stuck in their ways.
Yeah, and but just because something's difficult doesn't mean that people shouldn't take a chance and try it. Because if you don't, you're just stuck in the same position.
Stuck in the same position.
So, you need somebody that is motivating and intelligent and is able to deal with people of different races and different ideologies in order to create change. And we really haven't had anybody like that since Barack Obama. Trump has a different personality. It's my way or the highway, right? And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but he's not the quote unquote politician that Barack Obama was,
I feel like what didn't happen with Obama will happen with Trump, right? And what I mean by that is like when Obama got into office, I feel like as a Black community collectively, we developed a level of comfort that we didn't need. I feel like when he got into the office, a lot of us probably thought like, oh, we finally have a Black president. He's gonna make some real changes. And although he did, it made us lazier, and I feel like it made us even more stagnant than we were before he got into office. And I feel like what didn't happen with Obama is more people of color, both men and women, who took the initiative to educate themselves politically and to try to work and strive towards to be like him and surpass him. But I feel like what's going to happen with Trump is the people who abide by that same level of hate and resonate with what his message is, or they're going to continue the cycle after him. Like when he says that whole Trump 2024 thing, like and beyond, like I don't think he means him, like, and not his family, but the people who follow him. Like they're gonna fill those spots in the offices, and it's just gonna be a continued cycle of bullshit. Like like the level of comfort that the Black community developed while Obama was in office was like the main thing that really poisoned us in a way, in my opinion. And I mean, I feel like maybe I'm part of the problem. Like, I feel like I'm really passionate and stuff like that, but like, I don't. Politics isn't really my thing. But
it doesn't have to be politics. I mean, it could be anyway. So if politics are, obviously you're very articulate, you're intelligent, and teaching, right? If you want to teach, high school, middle school, college, and you're educating the youth, that also can help toward change. And we've seen that, right? This is the first time I've seen so many young white people protesting right next to Black people. This is the first time in my life I've ever seen so many. I mean, it's always been there, but not now. It's extreme. Now there's a lot, it was just a suggestion. If politics isn't your thing, there's other ways. And like I said, it could be teaching. It could be just a community activities. Like I'm sure they have like some kind of Big Brother community thing, so on and so forth. One of the things that they used to have, I don't think they have it anymore, was the Police Athletic League. And young kids from the inner city used to be able to go, and there would be cops there that would teach young kids to box, or they would teach young kids to play basketball, or teach young kids, and that's gone too. That's something that could, that needs to be, I think, should be put back into practice. But there's plenty of ways to help your community. That's as far as I could suggest, because like I said, I'm not part of that community. So I don't think I'm in a position where I should suggest any more than that. I think that change in your community has to come from you, and I don't think I'm qualified to speak on that because I'm not part of that community.
I definitely think even platforms like this podcast are super valuable. Like just seeing more representation in different fields. Sorry to cut you off.
No, it's fine. I've been talking this whole thing. Are you kidding?
But just more platforms like this, just more representation on all fronts, not just politically, is what we need.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question about it.
And I think more open conversations need to be had, even between, like, even though John's a liberal person, a white person, I wouldn't be opposed to having a conversation with somebody who is conservative. Or somebody who, why? Because those conversations will uncover a lot of misunderstandings from the two opposing sides. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like, in general, podcasting, radio, interview, whatever, I think people who have opposing positions need to start coming in the same room and having open dialogue and being, because a lot of times Black people, we're just trying to understand where the hate comes from. I think if we start to understand, and I know it's different case by case, right? It might have been their exposure to that particular group of people. It might have been a personal experience, some kind of traumatic event that might have happened to them to, force them to generalize and now create a stereotype that they follow, right? But until we start having those conversations and working through it, I feel like it's, that's where it really, like, learning how to empathize. Like, it might sound crazy, right? Trying to empathize with somebody who's racist or somebody who's, you know what I'm saying? But we need to fucking understand why the fuck they think like that. It's an illness.
Why?
You also got to understand that racist people are going to be racist no matter what. The hardcore racists are going to be racist no matter what. But those are only a small percentage of people, right? The people that just come out and go, that's it. The black people are the way they are, and that's it, right? And they wouldn't use that word; they would use the other word.
Yeah.
You're never going to change their mind, okay? But there are people that have a particular ideology that you can have an open discussion with, but it's difficult. It's because I've had discussions with family members and friends, and it's difficult to get them to understand. And like I said, I'm not going to say I understand because I'm not black and I'm not from the community. But my question was, why don't I understand? And that's what opened me up a little bit more. Why is it that the entire black community, with the exception of some, are outraged, right? And the white community is like, not so much. Now, there are a lot of white people that are, but the Republican conservative blue collar guy more so is not. They're not willing to go, okay, let's have the discussion. Because what happens is you could show them facts, you could show them stats, you could show them everything. People's emotions trump everything.
Right.
All right. And we see it. That's how people vote. That's how that's how people act. That's just the case maybe. So I'll give you an example, right? Like a big thing that a white person will throw out, or a white conservative blue collar guy, like people that I'm around all the time, they'll say, well, cops kill more white people every year than black people. It's sort of true, but it's sort of not. But cops kill a hell of a lot more unarmed black people in disproportionate numbers, right? But they don't want to hear that. They don't want to. If I say that, they just go, oh, you're a liberal. They don't want to hear that because their emotions are, they just want to be right. They can't be wrong. I don't think I'm a liberal or conservative. If you show me stats and you show me proof, then I have to believe it, right? So the white people are getting killed are the criminals. And yeah, but we're talking about unarmed black people that might just get pulled over for a red light or a traffic ticket or whatever the case may be. Those people are getting killed in disproportionate numbers as opposed to, white people. And so when you try to say something like that, it just becomes Now don't get me wrong. What I personally has to happen is those people have to come kicking and screaming. And for the most part, those people, the people that I'm talking about, believe what they believe, but they're not in a position to stop you guys from progressing, right? They're basically going to work every day, taking care of their families, believe what they believe, and they go on. And they might bitch and moan at work at lunchtime or something like that, but they're not in a position of power. So progress can happen, and you can have a conversation with people that are willing to be open-minded. But those people that aren't, they're just going to have to deal with it. And most of the time, that's all they do is bitch and moan and complain. And they just deal with it. They just complain.
Yeah.
And they go, I don't understand. I don't get it. Just go to work. I did. I went to work. I support my family. I don't get into any trouble. Why do they? They're unwilling to look a little deeper. Those people you're never going to get through. But at the same time, thank God, the majority of those people aren't in the positions of power. People like we were talking about before that are in positions of power, like senators and congressmen that have been there forever, if that's their ideology, those people have to be removed or whatever, voted out or wait for them to die or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. They're at one point they're all gonna die, man. But then they're passing down their ideology down to their kids. because there's still some people who are relatively young, right, that kind of adopt some of these ideologies. Like I've seen somebody on social media, it went viral, and I think Charlemagne the guy gave them Donkey of the Day. It was this young white couple talking about how they were basically making a video about how to make a nigga, right? And
what was that? Say that again.
They were making a video. I think it was on Instagram or Twitter, and it was how to make a nigga. How to make a nigga.
How to make a nipple? All right.
Yeah. So they put like the ingredients were like oh, I don't have my dad around. Pop. Like
all the stereotypes.
poverty. Yeah. So they were trying to be funny, and they were like in their 20s. So it's like that shit right there scares me, because it's like, how can you be that young and have that mentality?
Yeah.
You know, it has to be passed down from your parents or
Absolutely.
your family. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, yo, to be living in 2020 right now and to be a young person who's racist, your mind is fucked. Like, your mind has to be fucked.
See, those people don't think they're racist. They think just because they don't use the N-word, they're not racist, right? It's a joke or whatnot. The flip side is there's plenty of young people. I think the majority of young people that are in college and are able to be in positions of power in the future are more liberal-minded.
Yeah, I agree. A majority.
Yeah, the majority. But like, listen, dude, it ain't gonna. Whatever the process is, it's not gonna be easy. Yeah. You know, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. And you know, your community needs people like you to get out there and try. And just like this podcast, this alone helps, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, just having this conversation right here helps. And there's plenty of other ways to help.
I personally don't know where the world would be without Black culture. That's just a fact. Like, from the style to the music to the influence, I don't know where the world would be. So it has young white people who are racist need to think about that going forward.
It has been the Black culture has been so influential with no credit. I mean, you look at a commercial, you can look at an AT&T commercial, and they have some, you know, popular rap song jingle in the back, and you're like, oh shit, that's fucking so-and-so. Or you have white kids that emulate black, black artists like who's that? What's that kid's name? I couldn't stand him actually. What the hell's his name?
Lil Wayne?
No, white kid. What the hell's his name? Justin Bieber. You know, can't stand that fucking shit. But you know, he emulates, you know, black artists and black culture, and I mean, and there's a ton of them. There's a bunch of them, and I mean, even you go back to my generation, right? I mean, my generation was in the 90s. The hip hop culture was so powerful in the 90s that I grew up where I grew up, and I was still wearing my pants down around my fucking ass with Pumas with fat shoelaces and my hat backwards and my put up. And if you didn't see my skin color, you wouldn't know whether I was black or white.
Yeah,
that's how powerful it was. It really, you know. And corporate America capitalized on that. You know, they just, like I said, they you know, they take something like that and they go, okay, well, let's develop a white version of so and so. So then you get a Vanilla Ice kind of guy, you know, and it gets the hip hop culture has been so. It has been so powerful and it has been so motivational with not much credit. Like, you see it, right? You go, yeah. I know that I know that the hip hop world has created millionaires and billionaires and tremendous businessmen, but nobody says it. They get no credit, right? I mean, you know, you talk about, and those people have tremendous businesses and companies that black people and make great livings and no credit whatsoever.
Yo, outside of that, you can't be racist in like sports. Some of your favorite players that carry your team when you're sitting in the fucking stands or sitting at home are fucking black. You can't be racist and get a spray tan. Like,
Yeah.
it's just some dumb shit that some white people do. And like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. How can you be cheering in the stands for LeBron, then you get home, you call him a nigga, you tell him shut up and dribble? Like, shit like that, I just don't understand. But
yeah, it is. That's that is a tough question. That is a tough question because I'm a huge boxing fan, huge boxing fan, and I loved Mayweather, loved him, and I had friends, white friends, that would say he's a typical N-word, and I'm just like, why? Because he talks shit? Because he's flashy? I mean, like Italians don't talk shit and they're not flashy.
you guys
Right?
talk
Give
shit.
me a break.
I watched The Sopranos, John.
Yeah.
I know about that.
I mean, if you ever go to an Italian wedding, be a bartender at an Italian wedding, you will clean up, okay? Because there's just everything is cash, and they got to throw it around like it's like when I got married. My wife went back like a week later to pick up the I think some of the centerpieces or something like that, and the bartender said that we only had like 100 people at our wedding, right? And the bartender told my wife, I made the same amount of money as if there were 200 people at your wedding. And I mean, the jewelry, I mean, even me, man, like, I mean, you know, CR saw me, you know, in the back of his car, but if I go out, I have a diamond watch that my wife bought me. I got big diamond rings around. I have chains, so on and so forth. It's just, and I have suits, my brothers too, we have suits that are tailor-made, right? It's not just, now that was before, that culture wasn't influenced by hip hop, but hip hop has influenced that onto other white cultures. Like you see a lot of kids in middle America that do that shit, right? But you know, my father, my grandfather, and you've seen like the Frank Sinatra videos and the Dean Martin, and everything was tuxedos and jewelry and looking good and so on and so forth. And like you said, you see the Sopranos. You know, it is completely hypocritical, but that's why I am completely obsessed with human nature, because it is simple but complicated at the same time. Like, you can call a person a hypocrite and know they are, but they don't believe that they are. Okay? Yeah. And it's just it's mind blowing. It really is, you know?
So I'm not sure if CR mentioned this to you at any point before you come on the show, but this podcast is kind of, I don't want to say it's an ode to people who suffer from mental health issues, because I suffer from depression, and this podcast was birthed from my depression. Podcasts were one of my main escapes. So when I got to a place for like a certain amount of time where I was good, I decided to take advantage and create this platform to be that same form of escape for other people. You seem like a very honest and very transparent person, and I'm curious, do you have any type of relationship with any mental health issues, depression, anxiety? And if so, can you just share your experiences with us right quick?
I've been dealing with depression and anxiety since I'm 10 years old. I'm on 100 milligrams of Zoloft every night. I still see a therapist. And I have had massive anxiety attacks. So I'm like the perfect person to talk about this about.
Okay.
I mean, where do you want to start? I remember my first panic attack was when I was 10 years old. You know, I didn't know what it was. And I remember telling my parents, I remember saying to my parents, I feel like I'm dreaming. But I was having like an out-of-body experience. Like I didn't know what it was. And then it happened again when I was about a massive panic attack. I mean, I've had anxiety attacks that lasted hours. And then they would dip down and I'd be fine for a couple of days and then boom, they would spike up. That was like when I was about 19. And then it happened again when I was about 27. And then it happened again not long ago, actually. I mean, it kind of, when it comes to attacks, you can't cure them. It's impossible to cure. But the only thing you can do is increase the amount of time in between them. So, and there are ways to go about that. Like, you know, there's obviously medication, but should obviously be taken responsibly, okay? Exercise. Exercise is the number one. That's why most athletes don't suffer from anxiety and depression, because they have such endorphin high from being so athletic. Exercise is another one. Taking care of yourself, vitamins, meals. Another one that a lot of people don't realize is structure. You need structure in your life. If you have structure in your life and you have responsibility and you have to get up and go to work and you mean something to yourself or mean something to somebody else, and that gives you value, that also helps with depression and anxiety because you know you're worth something. And it's a tremendous issue, and it is a shame that the media during this coronavirus has not covered that topic much, because I think I have to. This is the only. Lockdown than people that actually died from the coronavirus. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. But you'd have to Google it and check it out. The media doesn't talk about suicide, attempted suicide, domestic violence, depression, anxiety. They don't talk about any of that during the lockdown. And that is a huge, huge issue during this lockdown. And it just doesn't get enough attention. It gets no attention. It gets zero attention.
Right.
And how to deal with it gets zero attention, you know. And it's just like, wear your mask and stay home. It's not that fucking easy. You know, it's not that easy. You know, and I've seen it. You know, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I could talk about it all day long. And it's what helped me was structure, therapy, creating value for myself.
Real quick,
Yeah. Structure, therapy, creating a value for myself. Meaning getting married and having responsibilities, and exercise, working out. That has totally helped. Not only through like just not only through biology where it increases your endorphins, but it increased my confidence as well.
Yeah, same.
You know? And I know some is worse than others. Like, I know there are certain depressions where you are in a rut, right? And you're in a rut, and it's just a bad time, and you have to get yourself out. And then there are certain depressions where it is a chemical imbalance, and you may need medication to help, right? And I know certain ones are more severe than others. But all of it can be helped. It can't be cured, but it could be helped. You know. Now, if you got any questions, just shoot.
No. I was gonna ask about because clearly we're still in quarantine and lockdown, and the loss of structure, the loss of routine is what I lost at the beginning of this, and I'm curious how you managed to adjust into this new reality that we're in.
Well, I'm one of the lucky ones where I my job was considered essential, so I never got laid off.
Oh, you should, yeah.
Yeah, but that being said, I have a degree in psychology, and I've had life experiences, so that these are things I can comment on. If you are one of the people that have been furloughed and stay home and so on and so forth, you have to I know it's difficult, but you have to create a structure for yourself. You have to find something that you like to do while you're home doing nothing. So it could be anything, but get up early in the morning and start. So get up early in the morning. It's nice out now. We're in Jersey, New York, whatever. Go for a 20-minute run. Go for a 20-minute power walk. Okay, and get the juices flowing. And then create a project. Start a project. Give yourself some kind of value, some kind of structure until this whole thing goes back and we can go back to work. Right? Hopefully you're getting like some unemployment, so you'll be able to pay your bills and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But that is because I can't say the only exercise you could do is go outside and run, bike ride, do something like that. That's a necessity. That needs to be done. Do it early in the morning. Force yourself to get up and do it, and then Find something that you could get lost in. I don't care what it is. Something. Build something. Get anything. I don't care if it's planting fucking flowers. Anything. To give yourself some structure and some value. Otherwise, you will easily get lost into nothing. And loneliness and no structure and no value could lead to tremendous problems, depression and anxiety. So much so that sometimes these people don't come back from it, as we've seen from suicide.
Man, the loss of the gym was the hardest part for me because like I've been trying to adjust from work from home to work out from home, but like I didn't lose my job or anything, but like the only thing that I really lost as far as my routine goes is the loss of the gym. Like that was like my sanctuary. Like that was the one place where I can get it all out, an hour in Sioux session, come home and be and chill. But the fact that I'm still in the four walls that I wake up in every morning, every day, and try to work out from home, it just doesn't hit the same. Even going outside, it doesn't hit the same. So it's just like hard.
You know, I did the same thing. The gym was my sanctuary. That was my therapy, right? Even though I don't compete anymore, I still hit the gym 5 days a week, so on and so forth. I was lucky enough where I have a house, and me and my wife emptied the shed, sorry. And we put a bunch of workout stuff in there, and I try to get a workout in there. It's not the same, but at least it's something. Because you don't realize it's not just the gym and working out. It's part of the structure. You go to work, you come home, you put on your gym clothes, you go to the gym. You socialize, you see people, you make friends, you have gym friends. Everybody likes to look at chicks in yoga pants, right? You know,
yeah.
And then that's taken away from you. And that's difficult. But that is anybody with any kind of hobby, if it's taken away from you, right? If you like to go golfing on the weekends, boom, now you can't go golfing with your friends, so on and so forth. If you want a softball league, no, can't do that. Anything. And listen, I'm no doctor, I'm no scientist. I have, like I said, I have a degree I have a master's degree, I have a bachelor's degree, and I always looked at it from that standpoint. And I knew from the beginning that this was not gonna go well when it came to mental health with this lockdown. It's inevitable. It's not even questionable. It's not even an argument from the very beginning. I mean, I didn't agree with it, but at the same time, we didn't know what we were dealing with. The problem we're having now is we know what we're dealing with now.
Yeah.
And we're still under fucking lockdown. I mean, things are loosening up here and there, but it's very difficult. You guys got to give me a minute, all right? I got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So when he comes back, I think we should start getting ready to get into this or that and start wrapping up.
Yeah.
All right.
But shit's crazy out here, man. People getting shot in their fucking house. 5 black dudes were lynched last week. It's just been a lot for my mental, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is a lot to absorb. Being like that, there's a lot to fucking absorb, yo.
It's a lot, bro. I mean, at the same time, I'm not saying be ignorant, but shield yourself, because I was listening to Charlamagne the God, and he was saying that it's like you're re-dramatizing yourself every time you're watching videos of violence. You know, black people getting, you know what I'm saying, attacked and stuff like that. Like, we know what's going on, and we got to find a way to do something about it. But at the same time, you got to protect your energy too and your mental. And constantly exposing yourself to that every day is contributing to that heaviness. You feel me?
Yeah. You want to get into this or that?
So, John.
Yeah.
There's a segment on this show called This or That.
All right.
It's a game between two impossible ultimatums. The way the game is played is you have two choices. You can't ask me to explain the choices, but you can explain your choice. But you must choose one.
Okay.
We usually start where the guest answers, and then Jeff, and then I'll answer. So everybody answers.
All right.
Are you ready?
Shoot.
Jeff, are you ready?
Yeah, man.
All right.
It's about to be a shit show.
Would you rather cherry pie with some heroin baked in it, or apple pie with some cocaine baked in it. You have to choose.
I choose first.
Yes.
The cocaine, the apple pie with cocaine. Not even debatable. Not even debatable.
Yeah.
I can give you my reasons why, even if you don't want me to give you my reasons why.
Go ahead.
First of all, I can't. I hate downers. I can't, like, if I hated, like, when I had anxiety attacks and my doctor would give me Xanax. I fucking hated you taking them because I hate downers, right? I love my pre-workout. That gives me a high, kind of like sort of like a low grade cocaine. And my uncle was a heroin addict, my father's oldest brother, and my niece, her boyfriend died of a heroin overdose last year and a half ago.
Sheesh.
Yeah. So that was a good question. Fucking cocaine all the way, baby.
Let's do it. Coke, baby.
That's right.
Jeff?
Yeah, I'm going with the apple pie too. Just because I like apple pie more. That's it. I'd rather just be high with some apple pie. That's it.
Yeah, I'd probably do the apple pie too. All right. Scrambled eggs with broken shells or cold, watery mac and cheese.
Oh, scrambled egg with broken shells. I need that protein. These are easy.
Oh, it gets harder.
Okay.
I gotta fucking chill thinking about those. I've had some cold, watery mac and cheese at like 4 a.m. one time. It wasn't bad. It was like that Boston Market mac and cheese. That shit's watery as hell.
Boston Market is good.
Straight out the box. So you doing the mac and cheese?
Yeah.
Nah, I think I'm gonna have to do those scrambled eggs, bro. All right. Eat the rest of a random person's PB&J with a bite missing, or drink the rest of a soda off of a homeless guy.
Oh, the PB&J. Oh, fucking disgusting. How many? Let me ask something. Do I get a chance to throw questions at you? Because I got a bunch of questions like this I can throw at you.
You can't ask me to explain the options.
That's fine.
But you can ask questions.
Okay. Well, do you want to continue with yours,
Jeff?
I don't know, man. I've seen some good looking homeless people. I've seen some clean looking homeless people.
What homeless people are you looking at? I've never seen a good looking homeless person in my life.
Let me explain, man. They're out there. What?
What?
I don't know.
You see a homeless person in Beverly Hills? What kind of homeless person looks good?
Yo,
so you
see the homeless person in Montclair? Is that what you're saying?
You walk the streets of New York City around like maybe 2:30 a.m. going on 3. You might see a little fine homeless joint.
So you're gonna drink that Sprite?
Yo, I think
that dirty Sprite.
I think you've just been in lockdown too long. You need to get some pussy. I think that's really what it is.
No.
Yeah,
I'll go with the soda though. Fuck it, I'm parched. Fuck it.
That's a whole different type of dirty Sprite. All right. Yeah, I think I might do the PB&J.
You know your hungry ass going for the PB&J. Fuck out of here.
What can I say? All right. Next one. Eat a sandwich prepared by a guy who just used the bathroom at work and didn't wash his hands, or drink soup that the chef dipped his balls in.
No, if I go with the first one. I want nothing to do with male genitalia. Keep that shit as far away from me as fucking possible. That's why I had 2 chances in my life to have a threesome with another guy, and both of the times I was like, no fucking way. There's no fucking way I'm doing it. It's first of all, all right, what if, okay, I have a threesome with my friend, right? And all of a sudden he pulls out this shit that he looks like fucking, Shaquille O'Neal, like just hung like a donkey. And I'm here with my fucking 6 inches, like, you know what? And then the other thing is, how long is a woman's torso? Like what? Like maybe 2.5 feet, 3. I mean, if you're a WNBA chick, like okay, maybe 4 feet, right? But other than that, it's probably 2.5 feet, 3 feet, right? And I'm on one end and you're on the other. If you pull out 2.5 feet is not much for a load to travel. It is not. And you hit me in the chest or in the stomach, or even come close, like you landed an inch away, bro, I would fucking freak the fuck. No fucking way would I be able to handle it. No.
Like that.
No fuck. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Next question.
Jeff, wait, did you answer, Jeff?
Yo, don't even ask me. You know what? I don't want nothing to do with no niggas' balls. Fuck out of here. What do you even asking me for, bro?
So we're all going for sandwich. All right. Next category is people. 50 Cent or Rick Ross?
Oh, 50 Cent.
Of course, 50.
50. All right. Scarlett Johansson or Jessica Alba?
Scarlett Johansson.
They look like the same person to me. I don't know. I really don't know.
Scarlett Johansson
got way more booty.
Scarlett Johansson in the movie what was the name of that movie? She actually was supposed to be a girl from Jersey.
Oh, Don John.
Scarlett Johansson in that fucking movie, she was stupid hot.
Yeah.
It was insane. The movie sucked, but she was smoking.
Fuck, yo, bro, hold on. You got to come back for a part 2 because that movie did not suck. We're going to have to talk about that. That's a good movie.
All right.
But, yeah, whichever one has ass, I don't know.
Scarlett Johansson. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going for Scarlett. All right. Melissa Ford or Amber Rose?
Amber Rose. All day Amber Rose.
Amber Rose before she got the tattoo on her forehead.
The tattoo on the forehead. You can get the tattoo artist to put that same tattoo on my forehead if I could fuck Amber Rose.
Yo, look like somebody just had a little gavel and just stamped her head. Like, fuck out of here. Like,
I didn't see her new tattoo. I gotta look that up.
that shit's stupid.
You said Amber Rose or Melissa Ford, Jeff?
Yeah, Amber before the tattoo on the face.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to say Amber Rose too. I think she just overall looks prettier than Melissa Ford. All right. Keke Palmer or Lori Harvey?
I'm gonna have to Google both of them because I don't know who the fuck they are.
I had a feeling he was gonna say that. Yo, I had a feeling he was gonna say that, yo.
No fucking clue. Pass.
Yeah. I think I'd probably go with Keke Palmer, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Really, Keke? Okay.
Lori Harvey's like 20 years old, I think, right? Fuck out of here.
All right. Now we're going into scenarios. Live in a 1-bedroom apartment for 1 year with Flavor Flav, or live in the same room as Wendy Williams for 8 months.
Flavor Flav. What? Flavor Flav. And Flavor Flav gets pussy, and I'm with Flavor Flav. It's not like we'd be going out. Let's go out. Let's what am I gonna be doing with? What am I doing with Wendy Williams? What the hell am I gonna do with her? She'd have to be cleaning up after.
If it was Oprah, I would have took Oprah. I'm not gonna lie, but I'll chill with Flav. Now, I want a clock. I want one of them big ass clocks.
The only reason I said Flav because that nigga he's mad annoying. But he does get a lot. He probably does get a lot of pussy. I didn't think about that. But the reason I put him is because he's annoying as hell. He's very annoying. But nah, I would still choose Flavor Flav.
Yeah, probably.
All right. To save your own life, would you rather race Usain Bolt or would you rather swim against Michael Phelps?
I lose both times. I would lose both. I don't know. It's like picking poison. I don't know. Maybe Hussein Bolt because my death would come faster. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't swim, so I'm gonna try to race Usain.
Yeah, I suck at swimming. And at least I won't drown if I race Usain Bolt. I'll come out alive.
Facts.
All right. So, would you rather have sex with the same female, the baddest female you ever had, and nut every time, or have sex with any woman you want under any circumstance, but you never get the climax?
That's a rough one.
That was a suggested one from somebody special in my corner.
I'm going to go with option B.
Really?
Yeah, only because at 44 years old, I've climaxed plenty, and it's getting less and less pleasurable as I get older.
You probably be tired as hell.
That's funny as hell.
Probably fall asleep right after.
Yeah, I'm out cold. Forget it.
Yeah, I'm probably go with option A. I think that probably be easy. Yeah, that's fine. The baddest girl?
Yeah, like she's bad, like bad.
Wait, that I've ever been with?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Oh fuck no.
Well, either or. I didn't specify. Just
okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fuck it. Yeah. A.
I would go with A as well. Only because I feel like, what's the point of having sex if I can't really, get that
Yeah, and blue balls hurt. So.
All right, last one. Would you rather slapbox Mike Tyson with no gear, bare hands, or spar with Mike Tyson, full gear but get real punches?
I'm going to take a slap because in the ring with Mike, that is brutal punishment. That is just brutal.
You do the slap boxing, no gear?
I would just take the slap. I would just, yeah. That is brutal punishment, being in the spar with Mike Tyson. You guys are too young to remember, but Mike Tyson had a problem finding sparring partners. He used to beat the shit out of them.
Yeah.
They used to be scared shitless to get in the ring with him.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the slap, and I'm gonna sue his ass.
Word, I'll probably do the slap boxing too. Fuck that.
Yeah. That was the last one?
Yeah, that was the last one.
Can I give a plug?
Yeah, you can shout out. Yeah, I was gonna say shout out where people can find you and support you. You were great. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, man. Anytime. I'll do this anytime. And you guys gotta come on mine once I figure out how to work it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, my YouTube channel is Serious and Silliness on YouTube. And you could DM me on Serious and Silliness on Instagram, or you could email me at unclejohn1201@gmail.com. And my whole thing is about human nature, relationships, more of a life coach kind of YouTube channel. Human nature, relationship, confidence, insecurities, anxiety, depression, but I try to be funny and entertaining at the same time. I have 2 videos up now. I think they're pretty good. I think they're pretty funny.
Yeah, the one I saw was funny, yeah.
Which one did you see?
Episode 2.
Oh, and that's on episode 1. I gotta see episode 2. Episode 1 had me fucking crying. Your advice is hilarious.
Yeah. The last question on episode 1, where it was more the statement.
Yeah.
That blew me away. I was like, wow. Okay.
Somebody really left that comment.
That's crazy.
All the stories and questions are all real, but I might change the names and things around so people don't get offended or don't know who it is, so on and so forth. Right. But all of them, the baseball hat with Jay-Z, that's a true story. There's no question, swear to God, there's no question about that. That was true. And I looked at that kid like he was fucking stupid. Like, you really respectably that you saw Jay-Z shopping by himself for a Yankee hat in Midtown Manhattan, right? And all that is true. All that.
When I heard that shit, I was like, yo, I was about to cut it off because I was like, I didn't believe it. I was about to cut it off right there. It's like this guy just got lied to, but fuck that.
Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna. I'm gonna keep it going. Like I don't know. I gotta figure out what my next topic is gonna be, but it should be pretty. It should be pretty interesting. So those are the toughest. Those are the toughest questions you got, huh? Those are the toughest ones.
Yeah, I kind of came up with these a little last minute today.
Can I give you a couple of questions?
Yeah, we got like 10 more minutes.
Yeah, you got like 2 good ones.
All right. Would you rather die from the coronavirus or save your moms from the coronavirus by getting fucked in the ass?
Whoa!
I'll see y'all in the next lifetime. I'm dying.
Right? John. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take that out, man. I'm gonna have to die, man.
I'll just get reincarnated as a tree or something. Fuck
but then your mom's gonna die if you take that out.
Hey, it is what it is.
She lives her life. She lives her life.
Don't touch me. Don't go near me. Don't touch my asshole, please.
She lives her life, John.
Yeah, well, we'll leave it at that. Well, because
CR, you want to shout out where people can find you?
Yeah, man. If you're listening to my voice right now, hop on Twitter and Instagram and follow me at CR_908. Brand new music coming out this summer. Be sure to be on the lookout for it.
Follow us on Instagram at Introverted Intuition Pod. Follow us on Twitter at Introverted Pod. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Introverted Intuition. If you're interested in coming on the show as a guest, email us at introvertedpod@yahoo.com. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much again, John. We appreciate you.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate everything, man.
All right, y'all. Y'all be safe.
All right, later.